So, if the Trojans practice, but the media isn't there to watch, did it really happen? And is the Trojans 2023 recruiting class about to get bigger? That's what's coming up next on Locked On USC.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on again, everyone. I'm your host, Marc Culkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC your first listen. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you download your podcasts, we are free, and we thank you for coming along for the ride. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. And again, you got some questions, send them on in. We will answer them, I promise. All right. So the Trojans held practice on Thursday. We're recording this episode Thursday evening. And once again, the media wasn't allowed to attend. The media is allowed to watch the first 20, 25 minutes of practice. Which again, just to kind of rehash what we get to do, we get to watch the team going through their strength and conditioning exercises. They split up into their position groups. They run some drills, and then we're basically told, get out, come back and do interviews when practice is over. So while I'm recording this episode, there's 23. The team's 23 days away from opening up the season against the Rice Owls. And look, I'm not trying to cause any waves here whatsoever. I want to be very clear about that. But based on what the media is allowed to watch, why are their days blocked out? Literally what we get to see, what we get to report on with our own eyes, we're not giving anything away. If there are injuries, it's going to get out there eventually. When we talk to the coaches, we'll ask them, hey, so-and-so wasn't here, or so-and-so was on the sidelines. And Lincoln Riley is the coach who will give us an injury update. So, the fans appreciate the limited amount of access that we do have and what we're able to provide. I understand that if Lincoln doesn't want to talk to the press after every practice, that's fine. I get that. But I don't think any head coach has ever talked to the press after every practice, at least in the time that I've been covering USC. Going back further, who knows? Maybe that was part of the practice. But, Lincoln can run this team however he wants. But on the day when the team is coming out in full pads for the first time in fall camp, there was nobody there to, take pics and showing the Trojan family, the team wearing their team colors for the first time this year. Yeah, you get to see them in their jersey and so forth heading to practice, but it's different when you see them rocked up. You got the shoulder pads on, the Cardinal color jersey, the gold pants, the black cleats, and the whole ensemble. It really sells the fact that, hey, the season's almost here. So again, we're not, at least from my perspective, and I know coaches might have a different perspective on the situation, but we're not the enemy, the press. The fans have been chomping at the bit to get excited again. And so those few minutes of film and pictures and video that we get to provide in the time that we're allowed to film practice, that is literally satisfying the Snickers and all the divas, including some of us in the media. If you might remember, Snickers used to run a commercial. You're acting like a diva, have a Snickers. Our little 2-3 minutes of video that we get to burst is like a giant Snickers for the Trojan family. Pardon me. Again, I'm just not sure why we're there on Wednesday. We're not there on Thursday, but we'll be back there again on Friday. I don't know. It just seems kind of odd, especially when you're going full pads for the first time. If you don't want us there on Friday, that makes more sense. Um, give us a chance to show everybody what the team looks like. Now, we have nothing more to report on from practice because we don't get to see it, on certain days. Um, I guess maybe a suggestion I would have, and I'm sure people at USC will get wind of this, and I can always make the suggestion to Katie Ryan, the sports information director for the football team. Let's keep practice open to the media through the end of fall camp, and fall camp essentially basically ends when the team starts classes, and I believe that's August 22nd is the first day of classes. So at that point, you know what? Close up ranks. Um, let the team kind of get acclimated to having to fit school in with practice as well. And at that point you can keep the media away. Really focus in on the game plan for the upcoming game. I don't know. To me, I think at that point the fans would say, "All right, we've had enough. We understand why Lincoln Riley is doing what he's doing. In Lincoln, we trust." Again, just this is my little mini rant, so I'm going to end it right here. There's always going to be the fan in the media, especially the local media who cover this team, and we're able to relay that passion in words and in pictures for the fans that are going to fill up that stadium, hopefully 77,500 strong, when Rice shows up on September 3rd. All right, so again, the team will be reporting back to practice Friday morning, and I'll be there to gather all of your notes and observations for a practice report. But since there was no information that we could really report on from Thursday's practice, I thought I'd give you just a real quick recruiting update. How's that? And you'll need to go over to wearesc.com for all the details. However, because we're free, I'm not going to give away all the subscriber VIP content. Nevertheless, there could be 2 recruits ready to pull the trigger soon. One being Alani Noah, that massive body with the Mauler mentality from Sacramento, California. He's being recruited to play on the interior offensive line, but he would be a stud regardless of which side of the ball he played on. He has great footwork. I would love to see him actually lined up over the ball as a nose tackle. He's got that he's got that violent personality, and you want it on the offensive line, but I know that USC can use more immediate help on the defensive side of the ball right now. I think the offensive line recruiting is going to eventually work itself out. Obviously, Alani Noah is part of those plans, and I'll get back to the recruiting towards the end of the show when we talk about a different subject matter, and it has to do with NIL. But until then, again, Alani Noah, big, massive body, great footwork. He just destroys the competition once he gets his hands on you. He could be pulling the trigger soon. I know some people say, well, he's just another 3-star. I think by the time the rankings come out again, because these things get re-ranked all the time, he's going to be a 4-star by the time he's done with his senior season. He's that good. And other programs are starting to take notice as well. So another recruit that could be pulling the trigger is the defensive back safety from the Dallas, Texas area, Warren Roberson. He could also play wide receiver, but USC is recruiting him to play safety. So Dante Williams will get him first if he decides to choose USC. Now, one of the things that could be a factor for the Dallas native is distance. But again, when you go over to wearesc.com and you read the recruiting articles, you'll see that he might have already overcome the distance factor. So go check that out. And then when you're done checking out that, why don't you head on over to BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. You can find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, of course. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, yesterday's episode, we talked about some of the early depth rotations that were starting to take shape. And again, these are really, really early in camp. And we're talking about stuff that's taking place after 5 days. They had practice today, which made it 6 on Thursday. They will finish up, I guess, 1 full week of camp on Friday with practice number 7. But when we spoke to offensive line coach Josh Henson earlier in the week, he might have shed some light on what the offensive line could look like when USC opens their season September 3rd, when the Rice Owls come to town. Henson said that offensive tackle Bobby Haskins was coming along with his understanding of the scheme, and that he's got some really good technique and consistency about him. Quote, he puts himself in positions to win a lot, Henson said. Just experience, just a seasoned operator. He doesn't make things hard on himself. Now, what's notable about that is Bobby missed all the spring while he was covering from an off-season, I believe he had off-season ankle surgery. So that experience lends itself well. He's an older guy. He's 24 or 25 years old. So he's been through the wars. He's got, I mentioned this before, he's got 20 starts under his belt, 45 games of experience in his time over at Virginia. So, again, seniors with that much experience don't typically transfer with the intent to play backup, be a backup role. Bobby might be perfectly content with that, coming over here helping USC, win a championship. But the depth on the offensive line is definitely something that Henson has. He's going to continue to really build upon. And the thing he likes is having guys who can play different positions, move around, playing multiple positions. It gives them a big advantage during the season. And one of those guys that Henson has kind of raved about is third-year sophomore Jonah Monheim. He's open camp at right tackle, but he also has the ability to switch inside and play on the interior if needed. He's got that body type. In fact, Henson mentioned, he said he's just a little bit of a thicker body, maybe a little more of a guard body when you're comparing him to the two different tackles, like Cortland Ford and I just mentioned Bobby Haskins. Coach Henson said that both Ford and Bobby are a little bit longer. They're leaner guys. So when it comes to the physical nature and the amount of mass you want to have to block on the interior, Jonah is probably more adept at making that type of transition. I'm not saying the other two can't do it, but Jonah is built for that. Something that center is his final position when he finishes up at SC and heads off to the NFL. We'll see, but again, Coach Henson, he's starting to give some clues here. So Could the starting offensive line, when Rice comes to town, could it be Bobby Haskins at right tackle with Jonah and Justin Dedich battling for that right guard spot? Remember in yesterday's episode, we were talking about work and extra work, and I mentioned that I saw Justin and Jonah Meinheim paired up working together, getting some extra work in. Is that a sign? I still think Justin is going to be your starting right guard in 2023. I really do think the starting offensive line is going to be Cortland Ford, Andrew Voorhees, Brett Nylon, Justin Dedich, Jonah Mannheim. Bobby Haskins is going to be this year's, let's call him this year's Andrew Voorhees, because he could play tackle. He could play both sides. He's going to be that experienced guy who could play multiple positions, but so can Jonah Mannheim. So the bottom line is Josh Henson and the offensive line, they have a lot of depth and it's experience, and that's going to be huge for USC in 2022. All right, so when USC fans hear the words student body right, it conjures up memories of past Trojan offensive linemen literally pulling and just destroying everything in their path as Heisman Trophy running backs were running to glory, as well as to bags of NFL cash. So student body right 2.0 is back. And not everybody is happy about the way the play is being called, specifically USC. Student Body Right is a new third-party collective, and USC is scared to death of these collectives. I've talked about it on the show. Then Miami and the Texas A&Ms of the world, how they're Tennessee, how they have a different view of NIL and how it's being used. And so these collectives are being formed to get creative and figure out ways to induce recruits to come to their programs. Well, welcome Student Body Right. And this came out, these guys released their statement right after SMU, Southern Methodist University, released a statement regarding their Boulevard Collective and how they plan to pay all their football and basketball players each $36,000 per year for NIL activity. That payout will total $3.5 million annually, and is considered unprecedented compensation in college athletics. That's where we're at today. And USC fans, boosters, they're tired of watching USC slow play their own Boulevard Collective, the Stay Doubted LLC. USC is always going to err on the side of caution. Everybody remembers the whole Reggie Bush scandal and the sanctions that USC received from the NCAA. Well, SMU actually received the real death penalty. Their program was shut down. They could not play football for a couple of years. It was bad. The NCAA will never do that to another program again. USC came close. They took away 30 scholarships over a 3-year period, essentially making it impossible to compete in the Pac-12, let alone nationally. So on the heels of SMU saying we've got our own Boulevard Collective and we're going to be paying all of our football and basketball student athletes $36,000 annually as a salary, here comes Student Body Right a couple days later making a declaration that we're ready to get in the game. Well, USC would prefer they not get involved. And I don't know how emphatic USC was about not wanting a third party to get involved. Some people think USC made their statement public with so they know, so it's out there. But behind the scenes, they might have kind of gave a wink, wink to the student body, right? Hey, don't do this. Wink, wink. There's really nothing USC can do about this, and they know that. So them coming out with a statement publicly, I get it. They have to. They want to make sure that their student athletes are protected. But again, I don't know how USC what they can do about this. NIL is the wild, wild west. It's the wild, wild west right now. Yes, USC is getting ready to roll out some huge, huge deals. Again, head on over to weareusc.com. We've got a big story that talks about State Outed and Boulevard and some of the big deals that are going to be rolling out. Their plan on how they want to collect $75 million to be able to compensate their student athletes, but not just football and basketball, every student athlete. Student body right wants to get involved with football. Eventually, this thing's going to come to a head, and things are going to have to work themselves out because, again, there's nothing USC can do about it. And I remember a time when the Thundering Herd would be considered a third-party collective. The Thundering Herd privately collected donations and bought a golf cart and donated it to USC, the football program specifically. And USC was glad to accept that. And what did the Thundering Herd group get out of this? They got an area of season tickets to purchase for standing room only. And that's kind of where student body right is coming from. The fans are passionate again, and they want to be involved. They know that they can donate to Stay Doubted and the Boulevard stuff that USC has put together. However, student body right is a collective that is going to make USC more competitive with recruits. Whether USC wants it to happen or not, again, they can't do anything about it. I'm just being pragmatic about this. As much as you fear what could possibly happen if USC fans want to see the Trojans competing for the elite recruits, the 5 stars, and winning those recruiting battles against the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Texas A&Ms, Miamis of the world, Ohio State, which are going to be a member of the same conference. This is what's going to be involved going forward. You've got the TV networks playing poker with each other. ESPN recently pulled out of negotiations. Will we see USC on game day in the future? Who knows? Fortunately, Fox has their big noon kickoff show. So again, things are changing so rapidly. I can only offer my opinion on what I see, what I hear, what I read. I'm right now kind of on the fence with this whole student body right. I see the advantages, but I definitely see there are some negatives, and it could, if this is not done the right way, a lot of people can get hurt. And I'm talking about the players. And when you're talking about these types of dollar amounts financially, and when the IRS wants their piece, if all the I's aren't dotted and the T's aren't crossed and you've got the right forms, and you're starting to deal with 6 and 7 figures as an 18, 19-year-old, yeah, I understand where USC is concerned and why they don't want third-party collectives getting involved. We'll see what happens. So, again, I'll be at practice Friday morning. We'll have Locked on USC back again 5 days next week. So until then, fight on, everybody.